My name's Brantley, I'm a slot technician, and in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you all of the steps and tips on how you can pick the best slot machine the next time you head to the casino. Welcome back everybody to the Cowboy Slot channel. With years of working in the industry, with years of working on slot machines, I am here on this channel to provide you guys with factual-based tips and technical-based tips to help you guys pick the best possible slot machines every single time you go into the casino. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to stay notified for when I come out with the next video. Whether you're a new slots player or a seasoned one, these technical-based tips are going to help you be more successful every single time that you visit the casino. So grab your notepad, saddle up, and let's get started. So let's rope it in and start off with tip number one, step number one, and that is going to be to always walk the casino floor. Walking the casino floor is number one for a reason. Casino floors are always changing. New machines are always coming in. Old machines are always going out. And not all the time is a casino going to place like games and like denominations together. So this is a great opportunity to walk around the floor, see all of the games, see all of the denominations, and really take some mental notes about where everything is, because we're going to use this later when we get into budgeting, and we'll cover that in a later tip. Not only is walking the casino floor really important for identifying where everything is, but this is also a really important time to take a mental calm down period. Casinos can get very overwhelming, and the number one thing that you want to do to be a better slots player is resist the urge to just dive right in and play the first machine that you possibly see. Take this walk, take this mental calm down period. It's going to help you out later. All right, guys, it's Mythbuster time. Have you ever heard that age-old myth that the casino is going to put better paying machines at the end of the aisles? Well, that is false. Always remember that slot machine placement on the floor has nothing to do with better odds or better chances of hitting. Tip number two to picking the best slot machines is to understand and know your local laws. What do I mean by this, and why is it important? Well, not all devices that look, feel, and act like slot machines are in fact slot machines. There are several different types. You have some states out there that have slot-style games with the same exact titles, but they actually run off of a lottery system or VLT system. You have several states in the country that run off of a bingo system. These look, feel, and act just like slots, but you're actually playing the game of bingo on the back end. It's just displaying your wins or losses in real form. Slot machines are highly regulated. A slot machine is going to be an individual unit that relies on its own internal random number generator or RNG, without outside influence such as bingo, lottery, or horse racing. If you are ever unsure about what type of device you are playing on, you can always ask a slot manager at your casino or check in the game rules and look for things like bingo cards, horse racing data, or the words lottery. You'll want to learn and know exactly what type of machines that you are playing on for overall success. This tip and this step is something that not a lot of people do, and they really should. Because slot machines are so heavily regulated, you want to make sure that you're actually playing a real slot machine and not just a device that looks like a slot machine. If you do happen to be playing at one of these facilities that maybe has bingo-based games, lottery-based games, or horse racing-based games, yes, you can still win good amounts of money off of those, and be sure to check out the video library for tons of other videos about these specific games. So let's talk now about step number three and tip number three, which is probably the most important tip to being a successful slots player. How much money do you need to bring with you in order to be successful? So by now, you've taken your walk around the casino. You know what class of games that property has to offer. You've made mental notes of where everything is. So now it's time to figure out how much you need to actually spend. You can also do this step at home. Budgeting is the most important key to slots. People actually make a lot more money than they realize at slot machines, but the problem is that the money never gets home. If you miss this step and if you don't properly account for your budget and how much you're gonna spend, it's gonna be the leading number one reason why you're not making as much at slots. Figuring all of this information out is really important and critical, because the next step we're going to be picking our slot machine. As for how much money that you need to bring to the casino to actually play slots, that is entirely your choice. But when it comes to budgeting, really the key amount that we recommend here on this channel is that your bet amount should never exceed 1% of your total overall bankroll. So for example, if you brought $1,000 to the casino with you, your max bet amount that you're going to be betting on machines should not exceed $10. And when we go back to the casino, those are going to be the machines that you're going to identify. So you're going to take those mental notes from step 1, and you're going to take that information from step 2, and now you're actually going to be looking for the machines that fit within your budget. Most gamblers, unfortunately, do not do this step, and it leads them to overspend. The budget is going to be key because every other step after that is going to be adapted around your budget and how much you have to spend. Whether your budget is $20 or $20,000, this is a really key, crucial step, because this right here is what you're going to be using as a tool when you go back onto the floor to look for your slot machine. One thing that I always highly recommend is to always use something like a lockbox. Now, obviously, this one is a little big. They do make smaller versions, and we're also going to put links in the video description down below if you would like to get a lockbox. A box of this size is going to be good for if you're traveling and you want to put it in a suitcase. Domestically, it's fine. You're not going to have any issues at TSA. If you're traveling internationally, I would not recommend doing this. But if you are going on a really, really long trip, or if you are a high roller and you're normally winning a lot of jackpots, something like this is going to be good for you. And again, they do make smaller versions of these. They make them all the way in pocket sizes, so you can find these in the video description. How these work is pretty simple. If you've never heard of this before, basically what it is you take your box, it's empty, you lock it, you leave the key at home so you can't touch it, and the box stays locked. You bring the box with you to the casino, and then every time that you win, every time that you're completing a step, if you're working on building up your bankroll, you're going to put your profits in the box. That way, you can't access it at the casino. And also, it's really cool because when you actually get home, you get that fun factor of opening the box and seeing all the money that you made. Now, when it comes to budget and selecting your machines, what you're going to want to look for is the highest denomination that your budget allows for. So let's use that $1,000 budget for an example. So we already know $1,000 is my budget. I'm going to stick to 1%, so my bet amount should not exceed $10. Now, obviously, there's a lot of $10 bets on the floor. What I would recommend doing is finding, say, a $10 denomination slot machine and doing 1 credit, which would be $10, or a $5 denomination slot machine to do 2 credits, which again would be $10. But what I would avoid is don't play any kind of like penny machines or 10-cent machines or anything like that all the way up to $10. You want to find the highest denomination of machine that your budget allows for. Typically speaking, the higher the base denomination of the machine, the better your overall odds and the better your overall chances are. So that is why you're going to use your budget in tandem with that picking of the machine and picking that highest denomination that budget allows for. So now that we have our budget in mind, we know how much we're bringing and we know how much to spend, let's go back to the casino and let's pick our slot machine.
Step number 4 is going to be picking the machine. When you first walk into the casino, you are going to see hundreds, if not thousands, of different slot games. But picking the one that is best for your budget and your situation is really going to be the key to success. So let's go through some examples here on this floor of just what games might be right for you and your situation. Let's start with low volatility games. Games like these old school classics, 3 reels, very simple and very straightforward, would be considered lower in volatility. Games like these are going to be recommended if you're working with a lower bankroll, or maybe you're wanting to really build up your budget or extend your time in the casino. These are always the kind of games that we recommend starting on the channel. So what exactly is volatility? Volatility is how the game itself is designed. Really important to note, volatility is not a setting. It has nothing to do with payback percentage, and it's nothing that can be changed. This is the base DNA of the game. This is how the game itself is designed to play out in relation to your budget. A low in volatility game is going to give you slow and steady wins along the way. It's going to be a lot more consistent in its gameplay. And not to worry, because on the next step, I'm going to be telling you exactly how to tell what a game's volatility is if you're unsure. Games like this one, like this old school triple red hot 7, very classic, straightforward, old school 3-reel game, that's going to be your optimal choice if your goal is to build up your budget or extend your time in the casino. So maybe you want a little bit more excitement in your gameplay and you want to add a little bit more of a risk. Maybe you're working with a little bit bigger of a budget, or you just won some on a lower volatility game. Maybe it's time to try a medium volatility game. A mid-level volatility game may be the perfect choice for you. A game like this one of Pinball. It has a low in volatility base game of Double Diamond with the single added bonus of Pinball. A mid-range volatility game is going to be a little bit more difficult to get those line hits on, but you are going to have a pretty good chance at a good, decent win. Games like this one are going to be great, especially if you've just won on a lower volatility game and you're ready to step it up, or maybe you're just working with a little bit bigger of a budget. Try games like this that are more in the mid-volatility range. Maybe you're more of a risk taker and you're wanting to take a shot at something big. Games like this one, Lightning Link, and also games like Dragon Link, those are going to be considered in the higher volatility class. Games like this one have more than one bonus, a hold and spin feature, 5 reels, and a lot of ways to win. But unfortunately, they do have longer periods of dead spins and can be a real strain on your bankroll. People are oftentimes unaware that this is how these games are designed to play out. They're in the higher volatility class, so they're going to have a lot more dead spins involved, and you're giving up that consistency factor. Basically, it's big risk for big reward. These type of games I typically don't recommend for people with a lower bankroll, or if you're trying to build up your bankroll. Huge mistake that slot players make all the time is playing games like this one and then thinking that the casino or the machine itself is tight, when in actuality, this is how these games are designed to play out. You're giving up a lot of that consistency factor for the chance to win something big like those grand jackpots. So now let's talk about tip number 5, and that's how to tell the volatility of a machine. So now that you understand that not all slot machines are created equal, and you kind of have an idea of which way you want to go, whether you want to go low volatile, middle of the road, or high volatile, let's talk about now how to tell what the volatility is, and tip number 5, which is reading the pay table and reading those game rules. So probably the easiest and roughest way to tell what a game's volatility is going to be how complicated the game is. Typically, the more simple, the more straightforward, the lower in volatility, and thus the better chances that you are going to have of hitting that top line on that machine or some more consistent combinations. Every single feature that gets added onto a slot machine, whether it's an extra reel beyond 3 reels, whether it's a really, really high multiplier like a 10 times or a 12 times, or games like Lightning Link that have multiple bonuses and multiple ways to get the bonus, all of those added features are going to add to that volatility factor. Now, the reason why this is so important is because not all slot games are created equal. So the more complicated you get, chances are you're going to burn through your bankroll faster, you're going to have a lot more dead spins, and you're not going to have as good of chances of getting back a good return. So it's really important in this step to always read the pay table and read the game rules. Let's go take a look at some examples. So let's take a look at our first example, this triple red hot sevens machine. Now you can tell it's very simple. It's very straightforward. Pay table's easy to read. It's easy to understand. A 3 times or a 2 times multiplier like a double or triple is perfectly normal for slot machines to have. But here's what would change the volatility. If we were to take this 3-reel game, if we were to add a 4th reel or a 5th reel, that would make it higher in volatility. Thus, we would want to avoid that. So something simple like this, simple pay table, very easy to read, very straightforward. There's no bonuses. There's nothing like that. That's going to be the game that you're going to want to start with. And these are going to be the types of games that you're going to have the best chances of hitting something on the top end of that pay table. Now, one big thing that you do want to avoid if you are aiming for that lower volatile scale is you want to avoid slot machines that have really high multipliers. So you might find a game that looks very simple and straightforward. Say, for example, like a 10 times pay or a 12 times pay machine. Those games are going to be much higher on the volatility scale and thus harder to hit on. Yes, the reward is going to be a little bit higher if you do hit on them, but they are going to be much harder to hit on. So anything with a really high multiplier, anything that's over 3 times, is going to be a little bit higher on the volatility scale. So that's one thing that you want to keep your eye out for to avoid when picking a slot machine. So let's take a look at another example of a more mid-scale volatility game. We're going to use Pinball. It's my favorite game. I love the game of Pinball. The base game of Double Diamond is very low in volatility. And if you look at the pay table up here, pay table is very simple. It is very straightforward. It does have a lower in volatility base game. However, because it does have that pinball bonus, it is going to be more middle of the road of volatility. So this would be a great game, again, if you've built up your bankroll on a lower volatile game, Or if you're working with a budget that's a little bit bigger and flexible, this would be a great game for you to play, something like this. We can tell that this Lightning Link game is on the higher end of the volatility scale. Obviously, it's got more than 3 reels, it's got 5, you've got that big grand jackpot, and obviously it's got 2 different types of bonuses. You've got the free spins and you've got the hold and spin feature. The game rules are also extremely important to understand. Nobody ever reads the rules, right? But you really should, because there's a lot of hidden nuggets of information in these rules. Not only that, but you can also kind of get an idea of how complicated the game is. Obviously, these game rules go on for a very, very long time. It's got a lot going on with this game. It's going to indicate that it's a higher in volatility game most of the time. Understanding the slot machine that you're going to play is crucial, because not all slot machines are created equal. And there's a lot of nuggets of information in these game rules that nobody ever reads. You're going to hear of a great example in our next tip. Tip number 6, always account for playing max bet. As I mentioned in the previous step, it is always important to check those game rules, because a lot of times players miss out by not betting maximum credits. On the popular game of piggy banking, for example, it actually does say in the game rules that you do have a greater chance of landing that one big pig, or thus the grand jackpot, the higher that you bet. And there's a lot of slot games out there like that. So always make sure that you're checking the game rules to make sure that you're not missing out by not playing max bet. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that it's not possible to land something big on a minimum bet or a lower bet, but if you are going to play a game, you do want to at least double check and make sure that you're getting the best possible bet for what you're playing. Pinball is a great example of this, because if you bet max bet, you're going to get awarded 5 shots in the pinball bonus. But look at this, if you bet 2 credits, you're only going to get 2 shots. That's 3 less shots. And a single bet is only going to get you 1 shot. That's really going to affect your overall return if you do get that bonus. On certain versions of Top Dollar, some versions require that you play max in order to activate that bonus. Versions like these, like Top Dollar Premium, require a minimum of 3 credits in order to activate that Top Dollar bonus. So you would not believe how many times I've been walking through the casino and I see players that will play 1 credit or minimum credits on games like these, only to land the bonus symbol and look up and get that gut-wrenching feeling when nothing happens. So don't be like that. Always check the game rules. Make sure that you understand that make sure you understand the games that you're playing. Tip number 7, always use your player's reward card. Using your player's card is especially important if it is your local casino or a property that you want to return to. Using your player's card is the only way that the casino knows how to properly tailor your benefits to you. These are going to be things like your free play, free rooms, and complimentary food. You're spending money, so why not get something in return? Not using your card is essentially like walking into a store, purchasing an item, and then walking out without that item. You're leaving a lot of money and perks on the table. Not only is your player's card important for things like perks, but it also does come in handy for things like your end of the year accounting. At the end of the year, you can get your win-loss report from the casino, helping you to track your overall profits and losses, which really helps with your taxes. Always make sure to consult with a licensed tax professional in your area for tax advice, but we do have a video in the library where I interviewed a licensed tax agent. You can check that out in the video description down below. Some people think that using the player's card is going to affect the outcome of the game. It doesn't, but that's going to lead us into step number 8. Tip number 8 is stop believing in all of those myths and superstitions that you hear. The casino industry is full of myths and superstitions. Believing in these can not only be harmful to your gameplay, but it can hinder your overall success when playing slots. For years, the gaming industry has been shrouded in so much mystery, and a lot of the information inside of the gaming industry is not available to the public, which leads people to make their own assumptions. So let's go over some of those myths that exist in the casino industry, but also, most importantly, you should really understand to use caution if you're taking advice from people outside of the industry. The reason being is because there is so much inside knowledge. It's going to be very difficult for somebody that has never worked in the casino or never been in the casino industry to really truly understand, to be able to provide factual information. Myths such as best time and day to play slots. This is a myth that has been around forever. So how exactly is this dangerous? Well, the problem with believing something like this is people are going to run out and they're going to spend a lot more money thinking that just because it's a specific time of day or day of the week that they're going to have a better chance. The truth is that time of day has nothing to do with how the machines are going to perform. Neither does the day of the week or after a holiday. Believing in something like this can be really harmful and impactful to your budget. Fast stopping the reels, while it might be fun, has no impact on the outcome of the spin. So how exactly is fast stopping the game harmful? Well, you're burning through your bankroll a lot quicker and not stopping to think. If you actually look in the game rules of a game, it will tell you that fast stopping the reels has no impact of the game whatsoever. It would have landed on that same spin whether you fast stopped it or not. Players' cards, while many people think that it has an impact on your game, it actually does not. If winning every single time was honestly as easy as just taking your Players Club card out, the world would have a lot more millionaires. Not using one every single time you play harms what is called your Theo. This is how the casino calculates your benefits, and it also will harm your end of the year accounting. The base of the gaming industry is psychology. If you go into the casino with bad information and clouded judgment, it's going to harm your gameplay. Even if something sounds too good or too easy, always remember that slot machines at the end of the day are producing a random result. You're not going to have the same experience every single time you play. The tips that I'm giving to you in this video are going to help you mitigate your losses over time, extend your bankroll, and increase your chances of leaving a winner. So how do you know when to stop playing a machine? Do they get cold? Let's talk about tip number 9, and that's when to take a break and when to walk away from your machine. Despite the common misconception, slot machines do not get hot or cold. Every single spin is an independent random event. You're going to have the same chances on each spin. Now, primarily, slots are for entertainment, so if you are not having fun at your machine, that's probably a good key indicator that it might be time to stop playing that game. Taking a break and relaxing is also a really good reset of the mind. Whether you've had really good hits, maybe you've just hit a jackpot, or maybe your budget's going a little too quick, take some time to walk away from the machine and take a break. The machine's going to be there when you get back. One key factor that slot players miss that can actually cause slot players to lose a lot more is every single time, if you're still at the machine and you're still playing, if you get a really big win, after that win, whether it's a good bonus, a good line hit, take some time to stop, pause, and reevaluate. You can also do this if your bankroll is going too quickly, maybe you're burning through your budget too fast. Always set yourself limits. Keep your goals in mind, and that's going to be the most critical, crucial part that's going to lead you to a path of success when playing slot. Always keep your goals in mind, and one big thing that's going to help you out is set yourself an upper and a lower stopping limit. So, for example, if you put $100 in the machine, tell yourself, if I double this to $200, I'm going to cash out no matter what. If I get down to $50, I'm going to go take a break and do something else. Setting those hard limits is really going to help you succeed when playing slots. Slot machines, after all, are a game of math, so you do want to sit there and do some kind of a calculation, especially with your bankroll and your budget, if you want to be successful at playing slots.
Finally, now let's talk about tip number 10, and all of these tips that I've provided for you here on this video today, all of them, while some of them might seem very simple, honestly, these are the base foundation tips that most slot players get wrong. And if you implement all of these tips combined and all of these tips together, in the long run, you're going to be a better slots player and you're going to know how to pick the best machines. Let's talk about tip number 10 now, which is playing responsibly. It is very easy to get caught up in the game of slot machines, and this is also why going into the casino with bad judgment, bad information, or a clouded mind is going to ultimately be very harmful. You want to always make sure that you're going into the casino with a solid plan and you know exactly what machines to pick for your budget. And now, after watching this video, hopefully you understand exactly what to look for the next time you go to pick a slot machine. You should never go into the casino with the mentality that you are going to win, or with funds that you might need for a daily basis or bills. Millions of people sadly do this every single day, and if you or somebody that you know feels that you have lost control or can no longer control the sport of gambling, then it's time to seek help. Cowboy Slots proudly supports responsible gambling, and in every single video that we do, in all of our video descriptions, we always make sure to include resources for problem gambling. We also do this on our website, which is ropethejackpot.com. Always know and always remember that if you or somebody that you know feels that you might be losing control, those resources are always available to you. Even if you take all of the proper steps to pick the best possible machine for your budget, always understand that it might not be fruitful every single time. That is just the nature of gambling. Over time, if you follow all of this advice, budget accordingly, and pick the right machines that fit your particular budget, and your particular goals, you're going to have a better time in the casino in the long run. You're also going to have an advantage over people that don't understand all of this information and that walk into the casino blindly and just put their money in any machine that they see. I'd really appreciate it if you would share this video. A smarter gambler is going to be a better gambler. In the video library, we have tons of other helpful information, helpful tips, Mythbusters, we do game reviews, we do live play, so much more. So be sure to check out the video library. Give this video a like, a subscribe would be nice, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks so much for watching. Check out these other videos and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more slot tips. It's always free. Visit ropethejackpot.com for free guides and a whole lot more. Catch you on the next episode.